WrestleMania has played host to some of the biggest and best matches in wrestling history. It's the place where the most iconic stars have come face to face. It's the place where blood feuds have come to violent conclusions. It's been the stage for iconic bouts and historic moments we'll remember for decades to come. In this video, we're going to look at 10 WrestleMania matches that should have been great, but instead are only remembered for how disappointing they were. You'll probably be familiar with some of these in-ring disasters, but we've selected a few lesser-known duds you might not remember. But we're going to start with a classic. Number 10, Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose, WrestleMania 32. Dean Ambrose never had much luck at WrestleMania, but his lowest point might have been his street fight with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 32. This could have been the match that really made Ambrose shine because they built it up to be a hardcore spectacle, with Ambrose even inheriting weapons from deathmatch legends Mick Foley and Terry Funk leading up to the match. We thought we'd see Ambrose tap into his hardcore roots, but instead we saw a disappointing squash match with barely any violence or weaponry. The reason for this abrupt change was that Brock Lesnar was about to return to the UFC and didn't want to risk injury, so he convinced Vince McMahon to go the squash approach instead. As far as disappointing Mania matches go, this one has to be one of the biggest missed opportunities in history. Number 9, Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus, WrestleMania 28. The opening match of WrestleMania is the second most important spot on the card. The first match sets a precedent of what's to come, and more times than not, WrestleMania always opens with a banger. However, this wasn't the case at WrestleMania 28 when they opened with the World Heavyweight Championship match between Sheamus and Daniel Bryan. On paper, this match sounds incredible, which is why it's so bizarre that WWE had Sheamus squash Daniel Bryan in 18 seconds. The fans voiced their unhappiness, but the one good thing that came as a result is that Daniel Bryan fast became a fan favorite. The fans rallied behind him, unhappy that such a talented performer had been buried on the grandest stage in WWE. The fan backing eventually gave rise to the Yes Movement, pushing Bryan to the top of the WWE. Number 8, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock, WrestleMania 15. We can't talk about disappointing WrestleManias without mentioning WrestleMania 15. The year was 1999 and WWF was at its peak in popularity. Austin, Rock, DX, Mankind, Undertaker, Kane, and countless others were in their prime. And with such a powerful roster, you'd expect WWE to put on a WrestleMania to remember. Not so much. The event was a total mess, full of hyperactive Russo booking that saw a legitimate boxing contest, and China turn face and heel again within the hour. It was also the first time Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock faced each other on the grandest stage, so expectations were very high going into the main event. The match was a little sloppy and kind of all over the place, and we knew Austin would be picking up the victory from a mile away. There were some memorable parts of the match, but looking back over the long and storied rivalry between Rock and Austin, this one's forgotten for good reason. Number 7, AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, WrestleMania 34. During the 2017 Money in the Bank ladder match, AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura came face to face in the WWE ring for the first time. The crowd popped hard for what was basically a stare down because not only had the two elite superstars yet to face each other in the WWE, but the men had history together. The previous year, Styles and Nakamura faced each other at New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom 10, tearing the house down in one of the most memorable bouts in recent history. On the grandest stage of them all, fans had no doubt that Styles and Nakamura would leave it all in the ring. However, the end result was less than satisfying. The match lacked energy, intensity, and the magic of their previous meeting, and even an unexpected heel turn from Nakamura couldn't save things. To make matters worse, this kick-started Nakamura's punching Styles in the nuts phase, where at every opportunity he would interfere in Styles' matches and low blow him. It was frustrating that WWE reduced such a compelling performer to a cowardly heel, and even 5 years later, the two have barely interacted since. Perhaps one of the biggest missed opportunities in modern-day WWE. Number 6, The Rock versus John Cena, WrestleMania 29. Following up a classic match with a sequel can go one of two ways. Either the performers can improve on what happened and use their previous encounter to tell a more detailed story, or they can suck the life out of the room and disappoint fans, as was the case with John Cena versus The Rock at WrestleMania 29. The two megastars faced off the year before too, in what was billed as a once-in-a-lifetime match. Because the match was so well received, WWE tried to recapture the magic again, but failed drastically. Not only was Cena's win obvious from a mile away, but The Rock struggled to keep up with Cena in the ring. He looked completely gassed, and the two eventually fumbled to a lackluster conclusion. Proof that you can't ever recapture lightning in a bottle. Number 5, Bret the Hitman Hart versus Vince McMahon, WrestleMania 26. For a match that had been 12 years in the making, you'd expect these two to go full throttle, especially when one of them is the greatest technical worker of all time, and the other is a total lunatic who loves nothing more than humiliating himself for the fans' entertainment. Sadly, the match between Bret Hart and Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 26 was anything but a spectacle. This was a post-stroke Bret Hart fumbling his way through a match, and 64-year-old McMahon doing whatever he could to make Bret look like the star he used to be. Had this match taken place a decade earlier, it could have been excellent. However, it was a transparent attempt to capitalize on Bret and Vince's strained relationship as a result of the Montreal Screwjob. But the problem was that the Screwjob had taken place 12 years before, and by this point, no one really cared. The crowd wasn't into it, even when Bret demolished Vince with some brutal chair shots after the match. Proof that sometimes you should just leave historical feuds alone. Number 4, The Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania 30. Rarely can a moment be so powerful that it silences an entire WrestleMania crowd, but that's exactly what happened the night The Undertaker's streak came to an end. No one expected it to happen, and the wrestling world went into shock when Brock Lesnar hit The Undertaker with an F5 and pinned him for the 3 count for the first time at WrestleMania. It's such a shame, then, that the match itself just wasn't very good. The ending overshadows everything that came before it, but rewatching it, you'll find it slow, clunky, and devoid of any real intensity. Undertaker got concussed early in the match, later claiming that he doesn't even remember the match at all. Maybe the ending of the match was weighing on their minds, or maybe they just had an off day. Either way, if not for the ending, this match would be pretty forgettable. Number 3, The Undertaker versus Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 33. And speaking of Undertaker losing at WrestleMania, his main event no-holds-barred match with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 33 might have been even worse than his meeting with Brock Lesnar. Not only were both performers supposed to be babyfaces going in, but it was during the Super Roman phase where he was just racking up accomplishments for the hell of it. The match suffered due to Undertaker's broken hip, which left him struggling to hit a lot of big moves. Reigns did what he could to carry the bout, but it was mostly a jumbled mess. In the end, Roman picked up a victory and got some mega heat for the privilege, but even after the nuclear reaction, WWE still pushed Roman as the top face of the company. Taker even left his hat and coat in the ring to signal the end of his wrestling career. And if he'd left it at that, the match might have been more fondly remembered. But Taker came out of retirement the following year and went on to have 9 more matches in his WWE career. And WWE have scarcely mentioned Roman's big Mania win since. Number 2, Triple H versus Sting, WrestleMania 31. Sting could have been a dream in the WWE. He was one of the few WCW superstars who never made the jump to WWE during the invasion, so his run could have seen him take on all of the superstars that he never got to. But instead, we saw a typical Triple H match, complete with interference from both the NWO and DX for some reason. Naturally, DX stood tall at the end of the bout after Triple H finished off Sting with a pedigree. Triple H claiming victory wasn't even the worst part of the match, because at least Triple H was sticking around afterwards. Sting was only going to be there for a short run, so some might see sense in the decision. However, it was the cringeworthy brawl between the two legendary factions that served no purpose other than to drive another nail into the coffin of WCW. Number 1, Hulk Hogan versus Yokozuna, WrestleMania 9. Hogan must pose. That was Vince McMahon's mantra for the culmination of every major show during the Hogan years. It didn't matter what happened as long as the Hulkster flexed and sent the crowd home happy. But it was this mantra that led to the most questionable booking decision in WrestleMania history. The main event of WrestleMania 9 was actually Yokozuna versus Bret Hart for the WWF Championship, but Hulk Hogan managed to politic his way into the main event and come out on top despite not even being in the match. Yokozuna won the title, after which he challenged the Hulkster to a match in a secret main event. Hulkster accepted and then demolished Yokozuna in 22 seconds and made Bret Hart, the guy poised as the future of the company, look like a total chump. The whole purpose of Yokozuna beating Bret was to make him look like the number 1 dominant heel in the company. If he'd have gone over Hogan too, it would have established him as a major threat. But WWE did away with all of that just so Hogan could pose with the belt in what is widely considered to be the most disappointing moment in WrestleMania history. Did we miss any infamously bad matches? Let us know in the comments down below.